studio today we have Al Brown, Maria Kirikides, Andrew Wood, and myself, Sarab Sandhu. Please carry on, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Sarab. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about the pandemic. Now, for all of us, it's been a very big issue. It's caused a lot of disruptions in our lives, and everybody has their own story in this. And some of our stories are rather interesting. At least I think all of our stories are interesting. So today we are going to tell you ours, at least in a few minutes. To begin with his story, I'm going to call on Andrew Wood to tell us how he has fared in the pandemic. What has he been doing? Sir Andrew.
Well, sure. Thank you, Al. I appreciate that invitation. Hello, guys. How are we all doing? Yeah, well, the pandemic, it's August of 2020 as we do this. Well, I'll tell you, it's been what, 6 months, just about, since we've all been locked down and isolating and quarantining very often. Our lives just upside down. And none more so than me. In my circumstance, I'm a teacher, and I retired from the school board here in Toronto just a year ago in June 2019. I guess that was good timing. Anyway, I've managed to escape having to work for the school board during all this current crisis, but I have been very busy, and now I'll get into a few details. I went, first of all, last fall, long before this, I was teaching in China, as a matter of fact, and in an area not too far away from Wuhan, where all of this started. And I thought I was going to start my new career in China. I was certainly intending to do so. I came back at Christmas because I needed to see my family and renew my visa. And that was an issue because the Chinese government doesn't want to give visas, work visas, to people our age, which is another story. Anyway, I did get a visa. My work visa was dated late in January, and I was set to go back. And then the doors closed. The airplane stopped flying. We started to get terrible reports and sicknesses and deaths, and that was the beginning of the panic in late January, the ball rolling. So basically, guys, I've been marooned here in Canada from my original plans of going back, and that's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, what I have been doing in the meantime is I have been working here in Toronto for a private school, a Chinese-Canadian one, as a matter of fact, and I could not be busier. I've never been busier in my teaching life. There was 2 months in March and April when I didn't get a single day off, you know, just online classes with the kids, classes mostly of 10 or 12 kids, you know, but I'll have 4, even 5 classes a day, and these are 90 minutes each. So they were 7 days a week for a while. Now they're 6 days a week, though. So still, you want to know what I've been doing during the pandemic? I've been teaching. I've been teaching up a storm, and I do it every day. And it's like I'm a robot now, teacher. You just wind me up and get me going, and I'll start teaching. So, but it's been fun, no? You know, the kids are benefiting from it. I surely do hope. I've gotten better at this online thing. I had never taught online before March. That was new for me. And so, of course, I'm ramping up, and I'm learning how to do it. And I hope I've learned. I certainly hope that there's been progress. And generally, you know, it's rewarding for me, I must say, because many of the students are sharp and they're working for me, and I'm really pleased about that. So I cannot complain from that point of view. From a professional point of view, it's actually been a boon for me. Now, on the other hand, if you don't mind my saying so, it's also cost me a lot. Benefiting from it, I sure. Because I've been home. I haven't been getting out. I haven't been getting my exercise. I've been dealing with the stress of teaching. Frankly, I've let my health go quite a bit. And I've gained weight. I've gained that infamous COVID 15 pounds. So in any case, so there is those two things. Professionally, I've never been busier. But actually, personally, in terms of my health, I've got to admit that, no, it's not been good. Anyway, that's my report for now, Mr. Brown. Pass it back to you.
Thank you. Mario, what have your experiences been?
I love how Andrew says that's my report for now. Well, let me give you my report too then. I got to tell you, for me, things did change quite a bit. As you, most of you know on the screen here, I have been launching a professional speaking career over the past little while. And the pandemic did put a little bit of a change in the way things were going for me. I was starting to really get on the stage and do speeches that were of an inspirational nature, and all of a sudden the pandemic just basically took the audience away in one just quick swoop. Everybody was locked in their homes and no more one-to-one contact. But it put us in a little box. These little boxes that you see here, you know, little quadrants on the screen that our audience now exists. So I was trying to figure out how to do it. And like Andrew, the virtual medium is, although it's a useful tool for many of us, unfortunately, it is not a tool that you can get the same energy contact that you would get with a live audience. So that really changed my perception on how to do things. I became more aware of my body language just by looking at the screen and looking at myself and how other people are interacting with me. So it did change that. From an emotional perspective, I missed being in front of an audience. I missed the contact. And although I'm used to working out of my home, because even when I had my own company before I started doing the professional speaking thing, I was very much in a home office or on the road traveling. So working from home has been something that I'm used to. So that didn't really shift too much. But I got to tell you, what did shift was that I found, just like Andrew did in his particular career, I found that this adversity that we're facing also creates growth. And I found myself growing and being able to communicate better on screen, being able to focus more on things that I hadn't had an opportunity to do before, which was to finish a book that I had written and I had put on the side. I dusted that off, did some edits, and now it's ready to get launched. And I'm just waiting for us to be able to get back in person so that I can do a launch for the book that would be more appropriate for what I want to do with it. So my professional side is moving in the direction that I want it to. I'm hoping that I will be able to be in front of people soon. Family, and thankfully we are all okay. My wife and I have family that do work in the healthcare profession, and we have seen and heard a lot of issues that do happen. And COVID is no joke, folks. If you're from the inside and you're looking, it's a whole different approach. So the politics that we're going to talk about later, it's a lot of it is just that hype and politics, and we're not focusing on the right thing, which is the welfare of each other. So with that, I'll leave it and we can talk. I'll let Sarab take over for his report.
Thank you, Mario. Sarab, how has the pandemic affected you?
Hello, everybody, all the listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Actually, this is all about what we can give them. And all I'm saying is my life hasn't changed much. But before the pandemic, I wasn't doing much. I was mostly interested in my own self, my inner being, how to make, I was writing about it. I was making articles about it. I was actually practicing it, how to live well. So this is an opportunity during this COVID to have that, because you are not allowed to go outside. You're staying at home and you have to be regimented into how you're going to spend that time so that you're keeping yourself mentally occupied. You're still having a social obligations by, Zoom. You know, my family is doing pretty well. My kids had come from New York to Canada and they COVIDed here. They were here with us for 3 months. So the grandkids with us, we didn't find this loss of any. So, in fact, in social uh, presence increased during that time. But all the same, all I can tell you is with whatever is happening, people's life have been destroyed because of stress, because of you know many things due to COVID, loss of job, loss of income. All this is going to happen, but how you cope with it is very important. So we're going to discuss this and how I'm coping. I told you, I'm keeping myself, I'm discovering myself inside. This is the time to do that if you have the time, because it keeps your mind away and you're looking at a galaxy within, which is much bigger than the one which is outside. We're looking at the external world only, but one has to look within and find a meaning, find a direction of improving your own self, because only you can perceive good or bad. So first, change what is inside you. So with that, we'll continue with how to do this.
Okay. Well, my experience with the pandemic has been as disruptive as everyone's else's, but perhaps in a very unique way, and a way that has actually been beneficial for me, I suppose. It didn't really affect my work very much because I work in a field where there isn't a lot happening in the course of the winter. It's construction. So there wasn't much going on in my office during the period when the pandemic hit in greatest force. This is normal for me, so it didn't matter. But what did happen is sort of affected the people around me. And then one of the most significant things that happened was I asked my girlfriend to come and live with me because she lives in an apartment in Toronto and I didn't want her there. I wanted her with me so that we could cocoon together and get through this. You know, the conditions were very unknown when the pandemic hit. All we knew that things could get worse rather than better for the longest time. And also, my girlfriend was very sort of attuned to this issue. Even in late February, her spider sense was tingling very badly. And she demanded that we stock up on goods so that we were ready for it, because she thought that this could be society shattering. And it could have been. It could very much have been if it hadn't been for all the government support. So at the end of February, as this whole thing was unfolding, we were stocking up on some goods, and I would be going to Costco as well to buy stuff. And it amazed me the number of people that were in there buying big, huge packages of toilet paper and loading down shopping carts with this stuff and all sorts of other supplies. I just couldn't understand what was going on. But at my girlfriend's assistance, I went along with it. I got the year's supply of toilet paper. I got a whole bunch of other stuff, stocked up on essentials like chocolate. Very important. We have to have lots of chocolate and nuts. So that when the actual pandemic hit, or when things started hitting the fan in the middle of March, we'd already prepared ourselves very much for the pandemic. And the question then was, going forward, what did we do? Well, we like to walk a lot, so we did a lot of walking around, particularly in my neighborhood, but also in other areas as the weather got better. And we just sort of sat and did our own thing because my girlfriend's job was suspended, so was mine. I had a big concern about continuity of income in that. Fortunately, my company and my girlfriend's employer were continuing our employment pay. So really it didn't come down to any big thing there. I also have a stock market account, so I was very worried that that was going to crash and burn too. So I had a lot of worries at the time, which ultimately were unfounded. We adopted a pattern of activities and just carried on with that. A lot of it had to do with just getting used to living together, because when you're with somebody for an extended period of time, actually spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with them, there are problems going to arise. Fortunately, we did not kill each other, and I think we can survive on that. And as the market has opened, we have ventured out, but we're still very concerned about what's going on. We don't go to restaurants. We don't do a lot of other things that I used to like to do. And one other thing that, Sarab, we're going to be talking to when we get to the health and wellness section is we've gone in for a lot of organic foods. In other words, staying away from the stuff that's less healthy, because during a pandemic, it seems to me that health is very important. It is easy to put on that COVID-15, and that is something that I guess it comes from the fact that our routines are disturbed and we don't know what to do with them. So the easiest thing to do is to snack. And that is something that everybody has to face. It's a common problem. Another common problem that I didn't face, but it was with some of my relatives, is the issue of depression. Having all your routines change like that is very stressful and causes depression. I was fortunate that my routines are already pretty disrupted. We went to Europe back in January for a month, and if you can get by a month in Europe and going around, which is very stressful, I'm sure you can get by sitting in one spot for a few months while the pandemic goes by. Overall, I've come out of it as well as I could. I'm employed. I'm feeling happy. My home is here. So everything is just great. Now, with this, we should open the discussion up. And the main issue or topic that I was going to, what was the main thing that got you through the pandemic? Mario, what was the main thing that got you through this pandemic?
Al, realism. I think that is the key for me anyway, that really helped me to understand what we were in for. Around January, February, when things were not really clear yet, there was a noticeable pattern in the healthcare profession here. You would try. I had a cold, or what I suspect, and this is so cliche these days. I suspected that I had COVID in January. And it was a really, really terrible flu bug, and it wasn't yet labeled. And I'm one of those people that I kind of feel that it might have been. It has not been diagnosed, but I came over it. But I got to tell you, once it got labeled and once I kind of understood where things are going into March, I realized that this is just based on what we were seeing in Italy at the time. I realized that this is something that is not going to go away within 2 to 3 months, or as they were saying in the U.S., stay home 15 days and everything is going to be fine. And I think once I realized that we're in it for the long haul, for at least 1 to 2 years, that set an expectation and a pattern in my mind and adjusted my coping mechanisms. So I understand where I am and where we are as my family and as a society, and I understand what we have to do, to be able to work with each other and help each other, because I'm looking at it not from my own restrictions or my rights or my everything. I'm looking at it for, we're in a community here, and it's a communicable disease, okay, and we have to make sure that we're there for each other. First and foremost, for you guys. First and foremost, because your safety is my safety.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Mario, a question. If you think you got the virus in January, where do you think you might have gotten it from?
I don't know. I think we were at a concert in about 2-3 days before New Year's Eve. There was a concert downtown in Toronto. So we were there with some friends to enjoy it, and about 3 to 4 days after that is when things started to happen for Alex, my wife. So she got pretty sick, and I was taking care of her. And then within 2 to 3 days of that, I came down with this. So more than likely, the one place that we had mass contact was there at the concert. So more than likely, that's where it was. But I got to tell you, Al, trying to get medical help in January was almost impossible. My doctor was booked completely, and all of them are there for the flu. I tried to go to walk-in clinics, I couldn't get in. They were locking the doors because they had so many people in the waiting room. So you can understand something was going on, right? And that flu is probably the worst flu I've ever had in my life. And based on the symptomology that we're hearing, yeah, I think it was COVID. But again, anecdotal, because I have never been diagnosed for it.
You've got to get tested there, Alan, see if you've got the antibodies in your system for it. That'll tell you. That's what it'll tell you.
Yeah. And once the testing gets more reliable for the antibodies, I'm not opposed to it. But right now, I don't really think they have a reliable test that can tell you for sure. So
there is a test, Mario, where if they find that you have antibodies, you can save the entire humanity. We'll make vaccine from your blood.
So we'll call it the Mario vaccine. There we go.
Just like Putin announced a vaccine, and you say, yeah, I've been using this vaccine. Nothing happens to you guys.
Yeah, stand aside, Pastor. Here comes Mario. There you go.
Back in the beginning of February, after we came back from Europe, we went down to the farmers market down in the brickworks down in the Don Valley. And a couple days after that, I came back and I got sick. And it was a flu-like system. I don't know, it was pretty tough, but I don't know what it was. I routinely get a flu shot at the office every year. They give them out for free. But this one, it was fairly strong, but I don't think it was the pandemic virus. I think there's been a flu bug going around. And Mario, I don't think you're not, as I recall, you're not the first person that got that bug. And frankly, I think if you had it, and if it had been going around in the community in January, we would have gone into this pandemic mode a lot sooner, because the virus is really infectious. It's one of the most infectious I've ever heard. I mean, certainly you go into a crowded place and you can get the disease, but this one just seems to be far more virulent, far more infectious than anything we've experienced in the last while. The only thing only example we have of something like that is maybe the Spanish flu from 100 years ago, which seemed to have ripped through the society equally fast, if not faster. But that's the thing is, there are probably other viruses going through, but they don't affect us as much, so we just don't feel them, we don't see them. And that's one of the reasons why the government of Ontario wants us to get flu vaccinations, because they've found that it actually does make a big difference in the number of hospitalizations they do. I think 5 or 6 years ago, they made flu vaccines free because they knew they were going to save money by it. They're going to have fewer hospital visits, which translates into government revenue. Sarab, what's kept you alive during the pandemic? Oh.
As I told you, that during the pandemic, the best place where I've been is within myself. And I've tried to explain other people also. But before I start, I just got this from my batchmate in Hong Kong, right? Now, Hong Kong is under third attack of COVID-19. Sad part is it spread to old age homes this time.
Ah,
All bars and restaurants closed at 1800 hours. Maximum group of 2 person in bars and restaurants. No routine flights. Local transport market operating normal. This third wave in Hong Kong, I mean, this is the place where they have a lot of so much discipline. They keep the masks on and all that. But here, the only thing I can say is this is the time to make sure your vitality is up. And the only way you can do that is with so many things. And I would say I have made my diet in such a way that's rich in vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. Now, how can you get that? You have pumpkin, squash, carrots, spinach, sweet potatoes, cantaloupes, dark green leaves, and mangoes. That's vitamin A. You should increase this. It's a high antioxidant rich food which improves your vitality. Because once you get the COVID, you have to fight it. If your body is strong enough, it'll fight it and it'll become normal. Otherwise, if your immunity is low, then you have problems. Vitamin C, citrus fruits. I have strawberries, bell peppers, cauliflower, broccoli, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, and asparagus. This is all foods, but you can always take supplements. Vitamin E, almonds, whole grains, wheat germs, sweet potatoes, yams. And sometimes you have to take supplements because the foods are not enough. And they say the best supplement to have is the vitamin D supplement, because this increases your vitality to such a level that you can fight any infection, including this novel coronavirus. And zinc also is very important. So all this experiment I've been doing on myself and my family around, and we're telling the people, you have to improve your vitality during this time, irrespective of what happens. Because in the end, it is you and the universe. You have to protect yourself. Nobody else is going to protect you. And of course, you're going to protect your loved ones also. So
hey, if I may interrupt, we're running out of time, and I think we should give Andrew here the last word. Andrew, please tell us what's kept you going during this pandemic.
Well, thank you. Well, a little bit of contact with friends, such as you three guys. That doesn't hurt. I've been blessed to have my wife helping me out. I was telling you how much I've been working, and it's just relentless. And so she's basically been taking care of the meals and that kind of thing. So I'm very fortunate, and I appreciate that in her. But I'll tell you, how am I getting through it? I've just it's a wall-to-wall work schedule for me, and all I'm trying to do is cope, frankly, and just keep it reasonable and keep it happening. I'm online 7 hours a day very often, just with classes alone. You add another 2 or 3 hours of preparation, of course. I need to prepare for the lessons. And I'm spending 12 hours a day very often in front of a computer screen. So I've been doing that now for 5 months and more. I can't keep it up forever. And that's, yeah, I've been sitting too much. I've been screen timing the whole time, and frankly, I don't see myself being able to continue at this pace indefinitely. It's just too much.
You have a message for people watching, whether you can, how to cope with it if you have to. If they also have the same situation, how are they going to cope with it?
Yeah, well, eventually I'm going to have to cut back. In spite of the demand for my services, I'm just going to have to start saying no. Yeah.
Gentlemen, we've reached the time limit for this podcast. I suggest that we say goodbye to our audience for the present and invite them back on our following podcast. We intend a series of said podcasts dealing with topics related to the pandemic and also other ones that are controversial today and dealing with the future of humanity. Some of these are, I think, vital for us all to know about in this age where information and knowledge is power. We need to know. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I love the guru glow that you have.